Hey, all week long we're talking about Emmanuel. Emmanuel, Emmanuel. His name is called Emmanuel. You know this next part? God with us, revealed to us. His name is called Emmanuel. Love that song. Love that song. That's right. That's a Christmas song. We sing about Jesus being born in Bethlehem, God with us. His name is called Emmanuel. Part of what we want to look at all week long is, what does it look like for God to be with us? How do I know that God is with me? Is there a way that I can figure that out? So I proposed this Christmas Eve. If you saw the message, that's great. If you didn't, then I'll kind of catch you up as we talk this week and give you some bite-sized things to think about as we move towards the new year. First of all, is that Emmanuel, God with us, can be seen in our lives by three things. And I proposed a spiritual MRI. So if you have an MRI, it's an imaging system that whenever you've got some issues in your life and they want to be checked out, they will take you through an MRI. This last year and a half, I've been in an MRI at least twice, maybe three times. I had colitis and diverticulitis, and I broke my wrist, broke my hand. You know, it was an interesting chapter of my life. And in this last chapter, I had multiple times they wanted to do an MRI to check out my bones, my ligaments, my muscles, my colon, all these parts of yourself to make sure that they can see if there's any issues. So I propose that we do a spiritual MRI that is about recognizing if God is with you. Recognizing when God is with you. There's three things that happens. When God is with you, it changes the way you think. It changes your mind. That's the M of MRI. It changes, number two, your resolve. Your resolve is your ability to do something different. It's how you behave. It's what you do. Your resolve. It changes your mind, how you think. It changes your resolve, what you do. And thirdly, when God is with you, it changes your identity. Who you are. Changes literally who you are. And so all week long, we're going to be talking about this spiritual MRI and how you can recognize God is with me. In all of our chapters of our lives, there's things that happen that are good and bad. And I propose that you think about the chapter of your life, this chapter of your life. How would you describe it? Would you describe it as a honeymoon chapter? Like, wow, things are just so good. It's just like a honeymoon. You kind of fear, when is the other shoe going to drop? Because things are going so good. It's so good right now. Man, that's awesome. If that would describe this chapter of your life, that's fabulous. I rejoice with you. But maybe on the other hand, you're saying, no, this is not a good chapter. It's a difficult chapter. Maybe it's a chapter where you've got cancer or someone you love has cancer, and it's a hard chapter. Maybe you where you are is in a chapter of addiction, and you don't know how this chapter is going to end, but you wish it would end because you feel trapped in a chapter of your life that's filled with addiction. Maybe it's a honeymoon chapter. Maybe it's an engagement chapter. Maybe you're a family chapter, or you're a student and you're in the middle of the chapter of education. I don't know what your chapter is described by, but I bet for a lot of us, we could simply sum up this chapter of our life with the word busy. It's a busy chapter of your life. My my dear mother, when I was born, it was a busy chapter in her life. She was doing a ton of stuff, going here, going there, starting a new business, just throwing herself into it because she loved it. She was driven. And in that chapter of her life that I would describe as busy, she was unable to do something that she had done for my brothers. She had done for my brothers. I'm the fourth of four boys. She had always made them a baby book. But the chapter of her life when I was born was so busy she didn't ever get around to making a baby book. So when I graduated from high school, she gave me this book. It's Jeffrey. It's all about, yeah, you got it, Jeffrey. It's all about me. And it starts out with simply her, doing some things that she had done for my brothers that she hadn't had time for. It was all about, baby stuff, birth certificate, and, those classic baby pictures, naked baby, butt high. Little pictures of Jeffrey. And it went all the way through. She took pictures, put together, made labels, did little descriptions, put poems, all in this little book about Jeffrey. I really appreciate it. It's kind of nice because it gives me a clarity about my childhood and gives me pictures and stories about my childhood. Every chapter you're in tells a story. What does the chapter you're in right now, what kind of story does it tell? If it tells a busy story, maybe at some point, like my mom, you want to slow down and look more closely at that story. In fact, all week long and in our upcoming series, Under the Influence, starting January 15th, we're going to be slowing down all year long to think about our stories, to think about what's taking place and ask the question, am I busier than I should be, than I could be? What if I was able to slow down and really savor this chapter? What if, because Emmanuel, God is with me, he could change my mind, how I think in this season? What if, because of Emmanuel, he could change my resolve, how I behave, what I do in this chapter? What if, because of Emmanuel, Jesus, God with us, it could change my identity, who I am, the story I tell myself about myself? This season, I want to invite you to slow down, to capture what God is saying in you and what he wants to do in you and through you. I hope you'll stick with me all this week, and I really hope that you'll make a plan to either join me online or better yet in person in Merced. I'm also starting a little thing in Mariposa on the 14th of January. That's a Saturday evening, starting that. But on Sunday mornings, we'll be digging into asking ourselves, how can we know God is with us? And how can we live in such a way that Jesus, because he's with us, changes our mind, changes our resolve, and changes our identity? I'll see you soon. God bless.